Josh, our topic for tonight is deal breakers and red flags. It's Valentine's Day month too, y'all. Y'all like my red? So, anyway, we're going to jump right on into it. And what we're going to do tonight is we're going to start off with the men, with the deal breakers for the men and the red flags for the men. So, Josh, we're going to start with you. We just going to dive right on in. Hold on.
Can we get a prayer
Okay,
before we start this podcast?
Huh?
Can we do a prayer before we start this podcast?
Yeah, if you're going to lead us in prayer.
No.
Come on,
I'm
lead
ready.
us in prayer.
I'm ready.
No, you brought it up now.
No, I'm ready.
You gonna lead us?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Huh?
No.
Yes.
No, I'm ready.
You gotta cover us.
I'm ready. We covered. We are covered.
We are definitely
covered. We are discussing many topics that can help, hopefully, relationally, across the board. So
somebody said you're gonna need prayer. Big Sean said you're gonna need prayer.
He's right.
And he said you're gonna need prayer. Josh.
Yes.
You're not gonna lead us in prayer. Now you know since you brought it up, I'm gonna hassle you about it.
You gotta let that go. We ready to they ready to get into the show.
They ready to get into it? Okay, we're gonna get started, y'all. All right. Okay. So hold on. Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. So deal breakers for the men. So Josh, what are your deal breakers? Or did you want me to start with the men and then you jump in?
If I'm not mistaken, you said that some people reached out to you and gave them a few of theirs, correct?
Yes. So what we'll do, we'll go ahead, we'll start with their deal breakers, and then we're gonna end the section off with the men with your deal breakers, and then we'll go into the ladies' deal breakers. How's that sound?
All righty.
Okay. All right. So one of the guys shared with me, he said a deal breaker, well, actually a red flag for him was if she asked him to pay a bill too early in the, I don't want to say, in the dating process. So what are your thoughts on that? Like pay a bill, like a bill, like a phone bill or like a light bill, not like for dinner. Because the expectation is that if you invite a woman on a date, you're going to pay for the date. But like a bill, like if a young lady said, you know what, I need money for my phone bill this month. What do you say to that?
It's a lot that goes into that. I can't touch that one because
what you mean?
I can't touch that one because it's a lot that goes into it. It depends on. We don't know how long these people been talking. Sex has been involved. We don't know what's going on. So,
if you are dating a woman, and I said dating, like we're still in the process of getting to know one another. Based on our very first trial run, we said that sex could or could not be involved. If a woman, first of all, a woman should never ask a man to pay her damn bill. I think that's unattractive. It's not appealing, and it's classless. It's classless to me. I would never. Now, if he offered,
you said it.
Huh?
I said you said that. So.
I said that she should never ask him to pay her bill. Now, if he's observing some level of struggle and he wants to help out, fine. If she wants to accept the help, accept the help. But I would never come to a man and say, can you pay my phone bill? I couldn't even let that come across my lips. Because
I think that's fair. I think that's fair if somebody, if a man offers or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? If somebody offers something, then that's different. You know, I
Right.
think that nothing is wrong if somebody is willing to do an act of kindness
Right.
For someone they care about and that they're getting to know, and as they continue to date and move forward.
Right. So, ladies, don't ask no man to pay your bills. Don't expect no man to pay your bills because he got bills just like you got bills. If you need extra money, get a second job. Or ask your mother or your father, ask your girl. But don't ask no man for no money. Because, like, the first thing that would come to mind is, like, where your money? You know, like, I want someone who's progressive and trying to make it happen. Don't ask me for no money in the beginning of us getting to know each other. I don't agree with that. So, ladies, I'm sorry. I can't roll with you on that. Okay. The next one was, he said for her to, so we're still along the lines of spending money. Because he says if she asked him to meet her at the mall.
That's a little vague.
Unless she want to meet you at the mall to eat at the food court. Ain't no other reason other than unless y'all just going walking, you know, gonna get a little milkshake. But again,
not necessarily. There are restaurants at the mall. There's Starbucks at the mall. No, but there's restaurants. Man, them ain't no real.
I'm just saying. What I think he's trying to say is he said he felt like it was a setup. If a lady asked him to meet her at the mall, because the expectation is that he's going to buy her something, not just food, but like in a store.
Don't make that assumption. That's all I'm gonna say. Don't make that assumption. I understand that, but don't make the assumption. Just try to figure out. Now, if
that's
you have
a red flag, Josh.
Okay, then if you have that in the back of your mind, that's fair. But at the same time, we always talking about communication on each show. So therefore, you're going to have to speak up. You're going to have to speak up.
Look, somebody said every store she walks into, I'm sitting on the bench outside the store. That's right.
That's real.
Don't even go inside the store. Don't even go inside. Because the expectation is that you're going to buy her something.
That's real.
I can't believe you ain't riding with your man on this.
Be a good support system. I didn't say that I didn't. I'm just saying for me to make that assumption, because for me, I'm gonna ask if that question is proposed to me, then I'm gonna say, well, what's going on at the mall? You know what I'm saying? I'm not just gonna automatically like, oh, well, let me meet you at the mall. Like I'm gonna ask, like, yo, what's going on at the mall? Like,
what's going on at the mall? You crazy? You know that, right?
I'm just gonna ask, man. I ain't gonna waste time with that.
Okay, so we're clear. Ladies, do not ask a man to meet you at the mall with the expectation that he's going to buy you something at the stores. Is that fair?
I think that's really fair. And I think a lot of, we can go and be a good support system. Maybe she just need a man's opinion. You know, I love
maybe what if she says, if she says, baby, you know what? I want you to go with me to the mall because, you know, I have to pick out this outfit and I would like to get your opinion. That's one thing, because she has been very clear.
There you go.
Right?
But some people try to sneak stuff in after that, but I'm with it. I'm with it.
Okay. Slim Kennedy, he said he did. He said, if I can't claim you on my taxes, I can't pay your bills. And he said, oh, wait a minute. Big Sean said, I don't think it's a deal breaker for some if men like the damsels in distress over independent women. See, I don't know. I can't get with the damsel. You're going to be stuck with a liability messing with the damsel in distress. Because what about when you can't work? Who gonna hold you down? That's a whole nother topic. Anyway.
That is. And let's try to uplift our queens, please.
Look, no, because they got their moment. Look, they got the whole other half of the show. Okay? Man. And I'm going to ride with them too. But right now, we're dealing with the men. So the next one is, if she never wants to pay or never offers.
I'm rolling with that one. I think that, you know, it should be at least fair across the board. I'm not saying that I just think every now and then, just let, you know what I'm saying? Just let me know that you got my back as well. You know,
Okay.
just being open to that. Now, for me, I'm a little bit more old school with it, but every now and then I don't see nothing wrong with that being the case.
And I totally agree with you. Typically, my mental note is I will let a gentleman who has offered to take me out on a date, him to pay for at least 3 solid dates. On that 4th date, I am going to offer to pay. Because I think I can kind of gauge his level of interest those first 3 dates to kind of see, okay, is he really interested in dating me, or, you know, what is this really about? So once he kind of shows me, you know, that he's interested, I will like offer to pay, because I want to celebrate him as well. I'm big on gifts anyway. As a woman, I'm big on that. You know, you want to show a man that you appreciate him. You know, you want to celebrate.
Right.
So,
and it depends on the person's love language too. You know what I'm saying? And if you figure out and find out what a person's love language is, then, you know, you got to make sure you tapping into that as much as possible.
okay. Slim Kennedy, he said shared homes, shared bills. And then men like women who need them. Need them how? Okay, I get it. It's an ego thing. Like I'm a need them, but you know, I'm gonna have my own stuff too. I just believe in having my own stuff. You know, that's just me. So anyway, okay. So anyway, what? What? I want. All right, I want to read some of these comments because I mean, this is gonna help us with this show. Okay, so Shane says, I had plenty of women tell me to meet them at the mall and want to go shopping. So if a man Patty Carroll said, if a man tells me to meet him at the mall, means that he want me to buy him something. Oh, she's not reversing. Patty, we're going to get to you. We're going to get to you on that. He said, who goes to the mall to meet over the age of, I've only been through all the games out here, if y'all only knew. All right. Anyway, so on to the next. So the next one is, if she always wants to come over to my place.
Not.
That's a red flag.
That's just a, you know, whoever said that, that's their personal. I don't necessarily. Oh, I can see where that's coming from. I haven't really heard that as being one of something that most men would deem to be a red flag or a deal breaker.
I don't know why he called that a red flag or a deal breaker, unless she just don't have her own place, or like if it's something dealing with her, you know, her cleanliness, or if her, you know, if she don't live in a decent spot. But my opinion on that, or my perspective, I would say on that is, in the beginning, like when we're first getting acquainted, I would rather for him to come to my place, because, you know, you men, y'all come into the situation with stuff going on before we came. So like, you need to clear the air so there's not like any pop-ups or, you know, anything that's crazy gonna happen. And then I'm at your house and then this other chick roll up while I'm there and now we got drama. So I like to give it a little bit of time to give you some, you know, space to clean up the mess, you know. What you think?
That's fair. That's fair and very logical.
Josh, don't make me come all the way to Argentina.
I got one. I got one. So I feel like a deal breaker for me, one or two of them actually, is disloyal people.
Okay.
And being disrespected.
Okay. Can you elaborate?
I mean, disrespect, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would like to feel, and even though I know there's the saying that men want respect, but I think that people, men and women both, would want respect across the board. I mean, who want to deal with somebody that's constantly disrespecting you in a way, or bringing you down, or tearing you down, you know what I'm saying? Or however they're doing it, you know, I don't think that that's something that's cool. You know, obviously you can forgive people for certain things, but when it's something that's constantly done over and over again, especially for myself, you know what I mean? I make sure that I show people the utmost respect, regardless, and no matter what's going on. And to know that I respect people so much that that's something that I definitely demand myself. And to not be able to get that after I have communicated with you repeatedly over and over again, like, listen, this is something that's important for me. You know what I'm saying? So it's two things that you're doing. Not only are you disrespecting me, but then I feel like you say that you like me or that you're trying to build with me, but you're not willing to do something that I feel is very important for me.
Right.
From a loyalty standpoint, dealt enough with too many people who have agendas, or too many people who walk away during certain moments. And I know for myself, man, I've been there with people through thick, through thin, good, bad, and different, you know, and try my best to stick by their side no matter what, and without placing judgment or anything else. And granted, you know, I have to remove certain expectations, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, that's something that's very important to me.
Right.
In what I'm trying to build with another person.
Right.
So those two things, you know, starting to get to some different deal breakers or red flags, like those two things for me, in my opinion, stick out tremendously when you're talking about deal breakers.
I can absolutely agree with you on those, the loyalty and the disrespect. The loyalty, I think how I would interpret it from my own perspective would be, typically, I mean, just through personal experience, what I would consider to be dismissive, you know, especially when you haven't invested a whole lot into someone. But like you said, at the same time, you say you're interested, you like me, you know, and then the moment things go left, then, you know, you're out the door, or you're dismissive, or, you know, people nowadays, people don't want to go through anything, you know, the moment that there's any sign of upheaval or trouble, you know, people are like, you know what, I don't want to do this. They don't want to put in the work. And relationships take work. It requires loyalty. But I feel like it's a good filter to kind of decide, you know, if this person is really for you.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. But at the same time, too, like, we all have what we need, but just making sure to reiterate this too, which could be off topic of deal breakers and red flags, like, and I want to keep saying this show after show after show, we are only responsible for one person. That is ourselves. Continue to make sure that you're doing the things that you're supposed to do, and the world or God or the universe, or however you choose to look at it, will show you what is for you and what is not.
That is so absolutely true. I agree with you. What's important is that we have our eyes open and that we actually see, because sometimes God can communicate and we're just as blinded, or we're not ready to receive what he's trying to say.
Yes.
Yes. But let's start having some more fun, because, you know, we said we was going to make this show fun. And I want to read some of these comments, because, I mean, tonight, our audience has a lot to say in regards to the bills. And I even had a comment on here about gift giving. And this was directed toward me, so I'm going to go ahead and call it out. But don't show a man too much with gifts. You'll end up empty-handed. Now, let me tell you something. You match their energy. If they're not doing anything for you, then don't do nothing for them. Like, I don't just give gifts to give gifts. Like, I give gifts if I feel like I want to celebrate that man, and it, you know, he's pouring into me and I'm pouring into him. It's not one-sided. Because if you got somebody that's just using you up and you giving, then, you know, that's a no. So you got to be, you know.
I say it real quick though.
Yes.
Whatever you choose to do, if it is genuine and it is from the heart, and that is a decision that you choose to do, then you need to be able to live with that decision. So if, for example, if I'm willing to go out of my way, do X, Y, and Z, doesn't work out in my favor, then I at least need to be able to say, hey, I know I gave it my all. I know I did the best that I could do. And if it wasn't reciprocated, if you feel that way, or if it wasn't given back in the way that you felt, or whatever your expectation was, then just be able to say at least you knew that you did your part and did everything that you could in the situation.
Right.
I think that a lot of times we do things with an expectation, not understanding that if you do something and it's genuine, then that will come back tenfold. That's just like, for example, if I decide to do work in my community, if I'm doing the work to show people and not doing the work to do the work, then the blessing ain't the same.
Right. That's because a person's motivation is not in the right, their motives are not in the right place. So you got to check your motives before you do anything. I feel like there's no way you could come out empty-handed, because at the gift number 2, and if it's not being reciprocated, then that's on you. Like, there's no way I'm going to give, and that person is not pouring into me.
But here's another thing, though. Make sure we make this clear for everybody.
Yes.
There's different ways that people can pour into you. So if you're speaking one language and the other person is coming back different, there's different ways that people can give you what you're giving them back.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be a tangible gift. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't
that's what I think.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I think a lot of people get misconstrued, because they'll say, well, I'm giving you this, right? And the expectation is to get that or something greater back. And it doesn't always work like that. You know what I'm saying? If I give you a scripture, then you in return might send me a link to a whole sermon. And we just keep going back and forth. It doesn't necessarily mean that I have to show love in the same way. That is also the other thing about men and women. We speak a different language, and that is okay. That is the beauty of it. There's also the beauty of learning each other and getting that understanding from each other. It can't be just, well, I'm doing, and I ain't getting this back. That's not cool, and it always doesn't work that way. People need to be more open-minded to how people communicate and show love or like or care for their significant other, especially when you're trying to build. And when you don't acknowledge it because you have an expectation in your mind on how that's supposed to look, then you've already lost.
Right. I agree. Okay. So the next one is, if she only wants this kind of, I mean, we can kind of sum up what you were just saying. If she only wants expensive dates, like,
I think that could be a
that's a red flag.
Not a deal breaker, but it could be a red flag.
Definitely a red flag, because I want to know how she's presenting this. Like, is she saying, I want to go out on an expensive date, or is she asking to go to a particular place and then expecting the other person to pay for it? Let me ask you this. What's your opinion on, if a woman invites you as opposed to you inviting her, who should pay for that date?
I still would probably handle up more than likely.
Okay. I agree, because some feel like if a woman,
that's just me. This is my take on on some of these things, because we're putting so many different rules and all this stuff into the situation, and it's like couple A versus couple B and couple C. Like, couple A may not care at all. Couple B may be traditional according to society and old school, and the man in that relationship is like, look, I'm taking care of everything. He might be the Nick Cannon of whatever and be like, whoever with me, they good. You know what I'm saying? Couple C, it might be where they both doing their thing. Couple D, it might be the woman who taking care of whatever because she wants to. I don't know.
Right. But I'm asking from the standpoint of, I have heard it said that I've heard men say, specifically right here in Atlanta, I never heard this before I moved here. If a woman invites me out, then she should pay. And I'm like, well, then you shouldn't go. But, you know, nowadays it's different. The dating climate is different, and especially here.
I think the dating climate, a lot of it is different because we're watching what other people are doing, and then we're taking a lot of opinions and not taking them with a grain of salt. Like at the end of the day, you got to be able to decipher what's for you and how that measures up with what you believe in and what you think is right in your own situation. You know, it's like going to a sermon and you might understand that something ain't right with the person speaking it, but that's, you know, I feel, in my opinion, I'm not going to let that take away from the message, because there are some people who still talk some good stuff, even though they might have some certain things going on. It ain't for me to judge them. I'm just trying to get what they say. So if I'm getting opinions or advice or whatever, then I can be able to listen with an open ear, be able to say, you know what, that resonates with me versus that doesn't resonate with me, or whatever, and keep it. A lot of people, they sit up here and they're in the dating game, and they'll go on Instagram, go on Twitter, go on whoever's page says this, and it's like they'll stick to that and not be open to really hearing anything else otherwise, other than, well, that's what they said they doing, or people from Atlanta say that it looks like this, or, you know, all the single women are saying, like, no, you gotta decipher what's best for you and go that way.
Okay. Well, we have a guest on here from Argentina, and she says, at least here in Argentina, if you invite someone to do something, you have to pay. Doesn't matter if it's a woman or a man.
Church. That's
Huh?
I said, that's what's up. You know that, and then so that's the dope thing about what we're doing, especially with this show, is just getting, like, that's cool to be able to hear what's going on in different cultures and how they think about dating or some of the things that we discuss. So that's dope. Salute.
All right. All right. We got a lot of comments. I wish I could go through those. Do you want to go through some of the comments, or you want to continue on this list?
No, I need to, because we've been talking about the men. Like we need to hear some of what the women, you know what I'm saying, what some of the red flags or deal breakers their side look like.
Okay. So the first deal breaker is inconsistency. And that's one of my deal breakers. So that's why I chose that one first. It's nothing like an inconsistent man. Someone who doesn't return your text messages, doesn't return your phone calls, doesn't keep his word, doesn't do nothing consistently. He is consistently inconsistent. That's the worst. The worst. You asked for my time. You went through all of that to get my attention. Now you have my attention, and now you're just inconsistent. That's a deal breaker. It's a red flag. It's all that.
Must have said a word, because you got a long you got two you got two.
I'm telling you. So when you get consistency, it's like, oh my God, you just appreciate it. It's like, oh, it's so small, but you're like, oh, this is wonderful. This is amazing. Nowadays, men are so inconsistent. Why is that? Why is that, Josh?
Kings, we got to tighten up. I don't listen. I just want to say across the board, man. We gotta do better, man. We gotta do our part.
Yes. The next one speaks bad about past relationships or talks about the ex too often. Now, if you talk about your ex all the time, that's a red flag, because you haven't healed. Now, it's one thing if you guys are having a conversation in the right context, of course, you can have a conversation. But if every conversation is about that person, then you clearly have not healed from that person. Don't do that, guys. Don't do it.
Well, can we take it a step further and just say
Take
that
it a
people
step
who talk
further.
about,
Hey,
can we
go
say
ahead.
people who talk about people negatively, that should probably be a red flag or a deal breaker too.
Right,
Because
I agree.
if they can't get off of it, man, the minute you don't do something, or you rub them the wrong way intentionally or unintentionally, whatever the situation is, they're gonna dog your ass out too. So you might want to be aware and be careful of that. And be aware of and careful of people who present one thing and do the whole other.
Okay.
Especially if something doesn't go according to how they feel.
What
To me,
about,
like,
go ahead. I want to hear this.
So if I'm the type of person, I've been this way since I'm a kid, especially like from an athlete standpoint, you know what I'm saying? I'm used to always following the schedule. So when somebody tells me something, that's what I go by.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that can't happen, then just communicate that. But don't tell me that you're this type of person, that type of person. You know, you give me a top 10 list of how amazing you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the eyes of adversity or a challenge or something that doesn't go right, and you immediately show me otherwise. That to me is, for one, it's a red flag, because I'm like, hold up. But I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. That can turn into a deal breaker.
But I
Because
feel like if a
anybody
woman,
likes being, huh?
if I feel like a woman is giving you these top 10 amazing things, and something is wrong with that anyway. Like these are things that you learn over time as you're getting to know this person. Like everybody thinks that they're wonderful. Everybody thinks that they're great. Everybody thinks that they're loyal and trustworthy and honest and all of that. So you have to take time and get to know that person and learn, you know, what that person's character consists of. And during that process, you will see, you know, who this person really is. But if I'm telling you I do this and I do that, it's a problem with that anyway. Now, if you ask me, that's different.
Right.
But if you didn't ask me and I'm just telling you, no.
Either way, if you ask or if you telling, my thing is, because I'm looking at what Big Sean is saying, and he was who will change their behaviors on how the environment is with the other person. So here's my thing when it comes to that, right? We all need to have a foundation, right? I was just talking to my daughter about this today, because no matter what, you know, she was telling me an issue that she has, and her first initial response is she wants to run away from the situation. And a lot of times, life ain't gonna always present itself that way where you can just run. You got to be able to deal with it. And that's the importance of having your foundation, whatever that means. You got to have a solid foundation, because when things don't go your way, you got to be able to rely on that foundation. Like, I'm not going to allow somebody, like, if I'm a very calm-natured person, or if I respect, like, if I'm moving a certain way, if somebody gets me out of kilter, you know, for one, I understand we're human. We're going to do things. We're going to make mistakes and have moments. Nobody's perfect. I do get that, and I understand that. The disclaimers. But for the most part, who you are is who you are. Nobody should be able to change that about you if that's who you are. My grandmother was a very loving person. Growing up in Toccoa, Georgia, when I would visit, or even when I lived with her, I watched people disrespect her. I watched people call her out her name or do certain things and be a certain way towards her. And she would always say, you know what, son, it's okay. I'm going to love that person. I'm going to pray for them. I don't know what they're going through, but hopefully God can help them, and so on and so forth. And I'm a firm believer in that, because I saw her deal with so many different things growing up, especially in that part of town, you know, where racially there's a lot of tension. and things like that going on. And she was still able to be very loving, very kind, and very open to people, despite what she was dealing with.
So how are you relating that to the context of relationships? Because, you know, relationships bring a whole nother emotion out, Josh.
No, and I understand that, but when things get hard for me, that's what I'm saying, in my opinion, and it's just me.
Okay.
I'm allow myself to get out of character or do certain things. Like, I have to sit up there, especially, like, for example, if we're having a heated discussion or a moment or something's going on, I'm not going to allow myself, because of my emotions, to disrespect the person that I'm going back and forth with. And if I do, I need to pump the brakes, apologize immediately, and say, look, we need to revisit this. Because things do happen. Things do happen. You know what I'm saying? But I think that an important piece and part of growth is when you can recognize that immediately and be able to put the fire out as soon as possible. So that's what I'm saying for myself, because you're going to deal with that. Those emotions, pride, all of that stuff get involved. And somebody has to be able to be the bigger person in the situation and say, hey, we got to figure this thing out. Let's slow up, whatever.
That's why communication is so important. And that's why it's so important to build a foundation of trust, so that when you do, because you know, it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have a disagreement. You know, you're going to have those arguments. But if you have a foundation of trust, when you're speaking to one another, then you know, then you listen from a different headspace. You know, you're not thinking, okay, this person is trying to hurt me, but let me just hear intently what they're saying and not be so focused on maybe the tone. You know what I'm saying? But let me hear, you know, what they're actually trying to say.
Let me address something, because it seems like the women are coming together and conspiring, which this is interesting. But we have a comment that says you can catch a man cheating and explode, and he judges you off that. I don't agree with men that do that, but that doesn't go for the whole, because for one, if you catch somebody cheating, they are totally wrong and out of pocket, and they need to be able to withstand whatever storm is about to come their way, point blank period. So I don't, how people flip that whole scenario, I don't think that that's cool. I don't think that that's right. You know what I'm saying? But that is for another show, obviously. But I just don't. I can always listen to somebody, right, that's having an emotional moment. The comes when it's time to communicate with that person and express where you're at with it, and when they ain't trying to hear it. See, if I can sit up here and I can take all your stuff, MFU, or doing this or doing that because you upset or whatever, if I can do that, be open to hear what I got to say on the other end of it. Now, I'm not going to come, me personally, I'm not going to come back at you the same way you came at me, but a lot of problem that I've noticed, or when I've had these conversations, is women will have or feel how they feel and then not be as open to hearing the response, or get more upset because they didn't get the response that they thought they should have got.
Right.
So that's my problem about that whole scenario that she's trying to paint down here.
Can you read that? Can you read it so I can know which one you're talking about?
I've kind of been flipping it all over the place, like, because Miss Kimmy is saying that we sometimes allow people to take us out of our character because we aren't getting what we need. So it's like, after that point, we bottle it up and explode when there is heat. And then J. Cruz said, I agree.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. Now, me, for personally, I can tolerate a lot of stuff, but when it comes to cheating, it brings out a whole nother person. You have Chanel has left the building, and somebody has just walked back in. So
red flag, deal breakers. Not today.
What you say?
Not today. Red flags and deal breakers.
You know, I know, that's right. I'm sorry.
Get my Paris on.
I'm trying to tell you now. I'm telling you, right, red flags and deal breakers. So yes, but we're gonna deal with cheating on another show. We got y'all on that, okay? We got y'all.
I think this is a good one because Paris said you have to be able to separate your emotions at times, especially never disrespect someone when they aren't the cause of the issue.
Let's see what Shane is saying. To date successfully, especially in Atlanta, it's best to start out having talks over the phone before you start going out. You'll learn a lot about that person and save a ton of money. Now, let me ask you that. I agree with that. I don't know how long that process is supposed to last, but a lot of people don't like to talk on the phone. People like to text nowadays, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Like, in order for you to get to know a person, you really need to talk on the phone. What you think about that, Josh, with the millennials? You know, I'm not quite a millennial.
I mean, I'm more traditional. I like talking on the phone, but at the end of the day, I think that we have to be open to different forms of communication. And there are some people who like to text a whole conversation, voice note a whole conversation. Oof. DM conversation
now
with the person that they're dealing with. I think you have to be open to all forms. I understand that we have a way that we would prefer, but I am open to doing it both ways.
Right. I was going to say, now, there are some forms of communication that are better, especially when you're having a heated argument. I have found that it's just easier for me to articulate my emotions through a text message as opposed to saying, I can have the conversation, Paris. I'm just saying.
But it's the worst to say the text because then your tone gets misconstrued.
But you can say but you can get your thoughts out first, and then you can pick up the phone and talk about it.
What time?
After you get it out.
After breakfast.
Something's going on.
I'll call you.
Okay. So I was just saying to Paris that sometimes, you know, it's better for me personally to articulate my thoughts, my feelings, and emotions, especially when I'm emotional, in a text. And I can have the conversation person to person and kind of explain what I was trying to say, but to get it out initially so that I don't cut the person off, they don't cut me off. It's just easier to type it out and then have a conversation about it. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. So, it is a whole party going on in these comments.
Big Sean, I see what you said, and I just want to salute you for just understanding where you messed up. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a step, man. And we all, whether we're men or women, we have to acknowledge and take accountability for what we do in our situations. You know what I'm saying? So salute to you for that.
Okay. Miss Paris is saying at the end of the day, we're all responsible for our own emotions. Putting the blame on someone else for your reaction is immature and unhealthy. I absolutely agree.
I showed saying there was a comment underneath Big Sean's that said you can't judge someone during adversity when the man caused the adversity. I'm not big in judging people, period. You know what I'm saying? But no matter who caused the adversity, you're still the person in charge of how you respond or react. Because the funny part is,
that's true.
I have a lot of power in the way that I react or do whatever to anything, no matter who that is or what's going on. I can't sit up here and I had a bad day at work and bring that home. That's not fair to who I'm dealing with. That's not fair to my kids. That's not fair across the board. So that's one small example of me being held accountable for what I do and how I move, no matter what it is or what's happening. When you love people and you care about them, you're patient with them, you're understanding, you know what I mean? And you want a sense of peace. You want a sense of making sure that that person knows no matter what's going on, that there's still love there, that we can effectively communicate, that we're able to handle each other in a certain way. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what is going on. I'm still responsible for how I maneuver in that situation, because even when a person cheats, right?
Mm-hmm.
You still have the power to do a smooth exit. And I know it's hard. People say that like, you can give me that face, but you got to remember there's a choice. Chanel, there's a choice, because the problem, here's the biggest issue with when it comes to,
We're trying to stay away from that topic, Josh.
no, but I'm gonna tell you in my opinion, what I feel like one of the biggest issues is when it comes to cheating. For one, people don't keep their business in home. The
Right.
first thing they do, they go and tell somebody. And the minute that they tell somebody, and then that group of people start talking about your business, and then they start telling you, girl, leave him, or homeboy, you need to leave her, or whatever, that's your first mistake. Because then when you end up staying, they like, oh, this one, he's stupid. Like, look at, and then they talking about you that way.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of you keep your personal business where it needs to be and handling that in home, you go and do that. But no matter what the wrongdoing is, you have a decision. I'm going to stay, we're going to try to work it out, or I'm going to leave. Or it needs time till I figure out what I want to do. One of those three, you got to make a decision. It don't take all that extra. You know what I'm saying? Because for one, you go off on the person, it don't change the fact that them cheating. For two, if you sit up there and try to commit the act to make them feel how you feel, that shit don't never work. So it's, and this is what I'm saying, it's my opinion. The way I move, I know it's crazy, and a lot of people just like, man, whatever, but like, for
Because
real,
I feel like most of the time it's the man that cheats. I'm not saying women don't cheat, but I'm saying most of the time it's the man that cheats. So I feel like it's easy for you to say it, because a lot of times when the man cheats, he has already left the relationship. He has already disappeared. So that's why I feel like you say that, because you're not affected, because
I got a bag full. I got a bag full and I'm ready. Next show. Because trust me, just next show.
We're not dealing with cheating next show.
I'm not saying next show like that. I'm just saying from the standpoint of like another show or whatever, because we got to keep it on.
We're doing a special show on that.
No, every show is special.
Every show is special, but we're going to give special care. So this is really, I swear, this show really is going in that direction. We probably need to deal with it, but we're going to deal with it later.
Oh, they going in on this.
Yes. Just like, look, Street. What Street Certified said, of course, because it makes you feel like unappreciated. It makes you want to hurt a bitch. I'm with you. Like, you want to put hands on somebody when you go through those type of emotions like feelings of rejection and abandonment, and then you got to deal with low self-esteem. Now you're trying to see what the other person look like, and you're trying to figure out what they do.
Let me ask all of y'all something. How come when it's I guess a negative emotion or a feeling, that it's always put on somebody else?
What you mean? What?
So like when you talked about rejection or other things, right? Was these things all come back to some type of insecurity or something that we could be dealing with within ourselves?
I mean,
why do we always?
Because it's like,
always like to do this?
For a woman,
we like to do this, but we don't never take some and try to figure out what's going on with ourselves.
Because like, why would he cheat? Like, for a woman, we feel like it's something that we didn't do, or you saw something in that other person that you didn't see in us, or we always want to know, like, what is it that they're doing that we're not doing, and why couldn't you communicate that to us rather than going out and cheating? So no, I mean, I'm not saying that we don't have issues of insecurity, but cheating breeds insecurity. It's a direct result of cheating, insecurity.
Time out. Next show.
Look, it's just, as a woman, I mean, for me personally, as a woman, I have experienced a tremendous amount of rejection over the years. I mean, more than I would like to remember. I mean, more than the norm. So I feel very passionately when you start talking about cheating and other women. For me, other women, it's just, it brings out some stuff.
Ain't And I understand that, but can't the rejection be your blessing?
No, we don't see it like that at the time because we feel like.
And again, and I'm not just gonna stick on cheating and all of that. I'm just saying from the standpoint. Let me word it this way: when things don't work out in a way that you feel, because cheating isn't the only way that a person could feel rejected. It's just so many things that are involved that can have a person.
You pick somebody over the other person.
It could be all of that, right? But maybe it's some things in the universe, God, or whomever, however you believe. I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm just saying in general that could be saying that this isn't the right situation right now. This person isn't the right person right now. Depending on whoever is on their walk and how close they are with it, if they're paying attention to certain things, man, it could be at times where the good Lord or the universe, if you're not a believer and you're more into, your spiritual, the law of attraction and all of that stuff, that could be telling you that it's just, that ain't it. I've gotten to the point where I've learned and built myself into viewing a positive on everything. Because when something doesn't happen, right? For example, Michael Jordan, his famous story of him being cut and how that drove him. Somewhere deep inside, he knew who he was. He understood what he wanted to do and what he wanted to accomplish. You know what I mean? And I think
that's different.
Man, I am. You're asking me in my opinion, right? And
can some things for me, to these situations that don't involve emotional attachment and other issues like.
They do.
No,
everything
it don't.
Involves. Yeah, it do.
Because just because he got cut, he was able to try again, and look at what happened. But
the same thing with dating. The same thing with dating. The same thing with dating. Why can't we just take our bumps and bruises, just try to learn, try to grow, take a positive on it, and keep pushing? Why does everything have to always? I'm just playing devil's advocate. Why does everything always have to have these negative spins on it? That's all.
Because I mean, has it ever happened? Has it happened to you in the recent years?
Oh, for sure. I've gone through my fair share.
I'm just saying though, like, it'd be one thing.
It is. You could be with somebody, right? Mm-hmm. And intentionally not get what you've expressed you've needed. That's a form of rejection.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, see, it's one thing if the relationship doesn't work out, Josh. If you two are not compatible and you guys have come to that. But
there's still forms of rejection within that, though. Even if you're not compatible,
listen to what I'm saying.
You can take it that way.
Listen to what I'm saying. But it's a whole nother feeling when it's involving another person. That's what I'm talking about. Like, some things just aren't going to work out. Sometimes you're not going to be compatible with that person. Sometimes you grow apart. But it's when you have a third party, that's a whole nother hurt that I cannot articulate.
So let me ask you, why do we have to break down rejection? You know what I'm saying? Like, at the end of the day, I don't feel that there's a different form of it. There's nothing that's going to soften the blow. It's less. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I think that sometimes
maybe we'll deal with rejection next week, but I just want people to be, men and women, to be more conscious when you're making decisions, like how it indirectly impacts the other person. Because people make decisions and don't think about the other person at all. They just do what they want to do. That's not right.
I understand. It may not be right from the person who feel that they've been left behind standpoint. But I think, again, in playing devil's advocate, if people are looking out for themselves and what's best for them, how would that be deemed or considered wrong?
Because
if you feel like you're making the best choice for you,
You can do that, but you need to have a conversation. If you care anything about the other person, you need to have a conversation.
That's totally different. I feel you. I feel you. But that's totally different.
If you finish with that person, then you need to be finished. You don't need to keep torturing them. See, that's another thing, right? You still got to engage the person after they have chosen somebody over you. That's torture. Now, if you're going to go about your business and you're going to go about your business, that's different. But when you steady engaging them, and that hurts. But y'all, we got to wrap it up because we're going to get dropped like last week. So we're going to deal with rejection next week. I'm already putting that out there because we don't have to deal with cheating per se, but just the effects of, the effects of it, the rejection piece, because we're going to deal with the cheating another time. But before we go ahead and close it out, Josh, where can the people find you on social media?
Josh21 Powell on Instagram, JP21 Reasons on Twitter. And of course, we have Relationship Status Live for all my good folks.
You can find your girl at Chanel Nicole Scott on Instagram and Facebook, Chanel N. Scott on Twitter. And you can find Josh and I on Relationship Status Live on Instagram, Facebook. You can find us on Twitter at Josh and Chanel RS. So, guys, if you have more questions, DM us. We'll try to, answer those questions as best we can. And we will see you next week.
And thank you to everyone as we continue to grow and build. I just ask that you continue to keep your minds, your hearts, and your spirits open. This is a conversational piece. We all are learning from each other because we're trying to figure this thing out one way or the other. You did.
That's right. All right, guys. Good night.